Hello, guys and gals, animal friends, and spirit pals. Welcome and welcome back to the Spirit Whisperer channel. Channel. I can hear you guys. Oh, Mark, how brave you are to show your face in such a state here on the YouTubes. But doggone it, I don't know if it shows, but I have been hanging out in the Hermit Cave for the past many days. And it's been quite the struggle to get out of that Hermit Cave and get back into my pan cave. I have been managing to stay awake long enough to do private readings, so I've been keeping up with those and doing my live shows, but I've been falling behind in other areas because I'll be up and about for a couple hours and then it's back to sleep. I guess that's my new profession, sleep expert. I don't know anything about sleep, but I just do it a lot. I have a margarita because I couldn't come on here with these big old snot blisters on my lip. It's been a fun time. But let's don't talk about that. I came on here because I thought, let's do some readings. And I put a post up asking you guys to suggest some topics or some questions. Now we're going to do general questions, current events, political, metaphysical, you can ask that, spiritual questions, nature, the weather, those kind of things. But we're not going to read people's personal questions for this, right? That's not what the questions were I was asking you for. So if you left one of those, thank you very much, but I'm not going to read on it. All right. So I thought this would help me get up and going. So I made it in here. I'm sitting in the pan cave, even though I might have a little bit of hermit cave hangover. Hang around, I haven't felt like cutting my hair or anything. So I hope you guys will bear with me. So let's look at some this and that questions that you guys gave me. Now, one of the questions was from, I think it says, boy, it's my own handwriting, so Cindy Geary. And they were asking about Anonymous, who apparently I understand, is saying they're coming out with something in July. Now, you guys gave me two different things, either the end of July or the beginning of July. Now, as you know, I have been on a news hiatus, which is also why I wanted to ask you guys to give me questions, because I don't kind of know what's going on, but for whatever reason, I'm not supposed to. So, unless you guys tell me, that's great. I'm not supposed to be watching. So, I didn't know that this had happened. I'm glad, though. Now, I read on Anonymous. It's been a few months, I guess. And I remember it was good energy. It felt like there was something of merit that they were going to bring forth. Not those cards, they say. Let's do this deck. Let's just pull some, let's just say their next announcement or whatever it is, presentation that's supposedly in July. What is it? How does it help? Is it good for people like you and me, or does it amount to a hill of beans, or is it a beautiful reprieve, breath of fresh air, something good? Well, ooh, that gave me goosebumps. First one's Ace of Wands. Gave me goosebumps. Now, I was talking today on my channel. You guys have different things, but when I do tarot, you know, Spirit taught me tarot before I went and read books on it, right? That's the way things used to work for me. So, and then I read up on it, you know, everything all bounced out. But the thing I do about tarot, you know, it's 4 suits. They coincide with the 4 elements and the 4 bodies. So we are spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional. And each suits corresponds with one of those bodies. So spiritual is the suit of wands. Now, spiritual also is represented by the element of fire. So wands, fire, spirit. Earth in the tarot is represented by discs, pentacles, earthy things like money, work, those kind of things. Earthly body, physical body. And then swords represent the mental body. They also represent the element of air. So the disc are the element of earth. Element of air is swords. And then the element of water, you can probably guess, is cups. Or sometimes they'll call them chalices, or they have other words. Basically, it's cups. And that's the emotional body. Emotional, element of water. And so, like if you were using, rather than tarot cards, you can just use regular cards. So, the suit of hearts is the water, cups equivalent. The suit of spades is the air, mental, sword equivalent. The suit of clubs is the spiritual, fiery element correlation. And diamonds are like pentacles, so earthly things, right? There you go. That's a little quick rundown. So I was really happy to see this Ace of Wands, because that's a yes. That's also a big positive, because, you know, I said, is it going to amount to hell of beans or be worth anything? So the first card is, you know, look, it's right there in the heavens. You can't see it quite as well, but let me see if I can get it to focus a little better. Like there's these big streaks of light coming down, and so it's like a yes from heaven. That's the way I see it. Just in my mind, and since, you know, obviously I believe in a creator, a supreme being, a higher power. And so a lot of times the wands, that's where that energy will speak to me a lot of times through the wand card. I use spirit to speak through the whole thing, but the wands can represent God sometimes to me, or the creator. All right. So, what is the energy of Anonymous? Okay, like those. Those are all interesting. Now, what about let's look at like kind of an outcome of that presentation. Great. And then I looked at the bottom of the deck. All right. So we started out with, you know, our question was, this anonymous thing in July, whenever it is, at the beginning or at the end, you know, what'll come of it? What's the point of it? Why do we care about it? So first of all, it says it's a good thing. And I'm going to say it's on Team Spirit. on team, what's good for everybody kind of a thing. Because that's what Spirit does. It's so here's the King of Cups. So this anonymous energy has this King of Cups energy. So it's loving, like, wise, guiding. So, I don't know, this card's like, again, team spirit, team love. Love for all, one for all. It's a pretty strong message. It gets our attention. Here's the Chariot. It comes flying in. Makes quite an impact. It might also have something to do with wannabe spaceman, the muskrat, because it's just because this chariot's in space. It's kind of making me think of that. It's about exposing the government. Now it's interesting, this government, look, it's like a devil there bending down to it, and he's got like a whip. That it's the Hierophant card, but that's more like, dictatory, bow to me, worship me, I am your God kind of energy. So this is about that. Exposing that, I think. And kind of encouraging people to stand up and take the win. Like, this is Six of Wands, so that would be like a win. That's the one where you're usually riding in on a horse and everybody's throwing up confetti and stuff. So that's the same thing. But interesting in this, it's a woman with an eagle on her shoulder, which would be, makes me think of America. Especially if you think of America as like a feminine kind of energy. Standing up, taking its rightful place, and all the support of the peoples. So that's what it's meant to do, I think. It's supposed to present some facts to us that haven't been presented about this, some shady shenanigans. I wish it would be about voting stealing. This card could be that. And it's meant to, inspire us, maybe piss us off a little bit, and make us stand up and go, this is the horrible. And so the outcome of that energy, they got the Death card that was on the bottom of the deck. So you know me, I'm pretty wishful thinking, but they're telling me it's like that death of this deceitful government thing. So I feel like it's meant to be a downfall for Oompa Loompa, and that it does add to the downfall. So let's keep our eyes and ears open for that. Sounds good. I like it. I'm going to do another pretty quick one because I read on this before too, but I want to look at it again. So the Menendez brothers, you guys were asking, are they going to get out? Now, when I read on it, I don't know, Was it in the summer or fall? Maybe it was in the fall. Or maybe summer. It was months ago. It was in a mystery video. I got that they were going to get out early. That there was a little bit of fiddly faddle before, and that possibly it might be staggered, or I remember them saying one might get out a little bit sooner or something like that. And I thought, okay, well, that's good, because in my opinion, I think they've served enough time. And then I was kind of catching every once in a while, Spirit would give me a headline so that I read it when I wouldn't have otherwise. And I saw that the DA in Los Angeles was trying to not, hear their proposal or whatever you call it. It wasn't going along with it. And I thought, But it still felt like, okay, well, I don't know. I'm not ready to give in. And so now I've heard that they are considering it again. So I still think it's going to be like what they told me in the summer. But let's pull a couple of cards on the Menendez brothers. I could probably stop with that first one. I'll pull 3. So the first card I got is the Star. Whoops. Star. When you wish upon a star, all your dreams come true. So that's a big yes. I think they will get out rather than dying in there. Looks like they'll get out. They have somebody really fighting for them. There's actually quite a few. But I think there's like lawyers or something who are really on their side. Fiery Knight of Wands helping. Yep. Too, since they've been in there, they've been great prisoners, so to speak. The one guy does a lot of work helping other prisoners, counseling, stuff like that. And, I feel strongly, and spirits told me, that they were pretty horribly abused all the way through. And it sort of led to that result. Doesn't really excuse them for taking that action, but you don't know quite what you do in those situations. If you're really afraid and it's been ongoing and, you're kind of groomed and all that stuff, you don't know what you do. Anyway, so I did get this Hermit and Page of Cups. That's kind of acting like that thing I maybe want to get out one early and then the other one gets out a little bit later. I think they got different kinds of sentences. Feels like I think the older brother got a longer sentence, even though they're both for life or something. So I don't know. It might be one and then another, just because of this Hermit. They might come out holding hands 2 at a time. It might be 1 at a time, because there's that Page of Cups. So even if one comes out, there's a surprise for the other one, and he'll be coming. Waiting for their ship to come in. Boy, the cards are having a hard time. And then moving in. This is the bottom of the deck. Moving into calmer waters. And this would be like going back home. So that's a big fat yes on that one. Alrighty. Now, let's move right along. And somebody was asking, they were kind of interested to know if, the orange Oompa Loompa, this is Barber, I think, 0611, if the orange Oompa Loompa, going to be president forever, or, all year, or might he be gone by Christmas or the fall or whatever. But let's look at, I think what I'm going to do is draw like 4 cards for June, 4 for July, and 4 for August. And let's just look at how the traitorous, dictating regime's energy is looking. I'm just going to let the 4 cards tell us about the general energy, his energy in those months. You can do yes and no with tarot, but there's different ways. But I don't tend to like to just do the yes and no. I'd rather just use my pendulum for that. So we're going to go 4 cards per month. And I'll switch decks. So more about me. So I got sick, and I was only sick really, the worst part was just a couple of days. And when I say the worst part, all of a sudden I went to sleep, it was at night, and then I woke up sneezing ferociously and couldn't stop. And then just, clear liquid just pouring out of my nose. And that happened for about 2 days. And, coughing and sneezing. And also for those 2 days, I had a fever, not huge, but a temperature, and cold chills. Those kind where your body just shakes uncontrollably. I don't know if you've ever had that, and you can't really stop it. It's like quick, a blanket wrapped from head to toe. But that was just 2 days, and then that quit. Then I had sort of a lingering cough. But the worst part is just tired, like the COVID tired. That's what it reminded me of. It was way back when COVID first started, right after my partner passed. I got really sick. First I thought, am I just grieving or what's happening? But I had like no energy. It was just all I could do to feed the pets. And it was a chore to get through it. And I just thought like, well, what's happening? And so this reminds me a little bit of that. Then I'm doing pretty good. But then also, that second day of sneezing, like I sneezed viciously, and when I did, it was like a sword stabbed me in the abdomen, and like I burst a gasket or something. It hurt like crap. And so since then, that's been like the biggest problem. And plus I still cough some, not as much. But every time it's like, oh God, don't let that burst again. So I think too, I might have had to be sleeping a little bit more. To help that heal, help my immune system, bringing that back into a form of life. Okay, that's enough of my whining. All right, so there's June's cards. And so we're looking at the Oompa Loompas energy. How's his regime, his, reign, how's it going in June? And now let's look at July. There's one. July. 2. Okay. Okie dokie. Great. And then let's look at August. What cards for August? Let's do these. Augusta. August. August. I'll do my wands for this too, just to ask on top of it. All right. So when I look at June, his energy is worry and nightmares. As we move into June, there's like, I can always feel this. He's always got, the ghost of Christmas past right on his ass, so to speak, ready to pull the sheet out from under him at any minute. Two of Swords. Feeling a little desperate. Feeling, Two of Swords typically would be like that crossroads card where they're holding a sword and going. But I keep getting this. Him and his partner, whoever it is, if it's the muskrat or the, BJ, it's, they don't really love each other. It's that there's no real relationship. They're both on their own, path. They don't care about the other one. So it's fraught. That relationship is fraught. It's like they've never been on the same path. So I think that comes up again in June. Also, there's a lot of flying monkey energy. A lot of news. Eight of Wands. Coming out. News, news, news. Dodging the monkeys. In June. Yeah. And, more opposition from justice. So that would be judges or something saying, no, you're not going to do it. Like I heard somebody stop the tariffs. I don't know if it's the Supreme Court or what, but at least I heard that, which is good. But being put on the table, scrutinized, that's still there. Is this justice what you're doing? We're still looking at that. I don't know why, but they are. Seem a little dumb. Then, so, we were talking about July being when those guys, when the Anonymous come up. So I get the Star and the Seven of Swords together for July. Here's that Star. In this case, I think it's like when we wish upon a star, but it looks to me like shining light onto thievery. There's that Seven of Swords. Lying, cheating, stealing. Might as well say Oompa Loompa on the bottom. It's interesting, though. This light, she steps out of the dark kind of like Anonymous stepping out long enough to show this and stepping back into the dark, right? But it's to expose thievery. And my mind automatically goes to the hypocritical, lying, cheating, stealing Republicans that are Donald Trump butt lickers as the ones that would be exposed. But, you know, I guess it could mean anybody. And in July, so we get a page of spears and the two of spears. It looks like a fresh outlook. Some clouds clearing. Beginning to have a different view. It's interesting because look at these cards. Both of them, they're faced away and they're looking to the future. Looking ahead. They're not really looking behind them. They're focused on ahead. So it looks like in July, maybe this exposure or whatever that is, I hope it's something big, kind of turns more heads towards a different future, you know, towards a new future, if that makes sense. Makes more people turn their back on what's happening now and looking ahead. I like it. And then we get the Three of Pentacles for August. And that's people coming together, working hard on a, you know, like-minded project. It's interesting because it's two people of color in this group. So, I don't know. That makes me think that those are the people that are at work. You know, the normal, regular people that are just on the ground. There they are. They're at work because of this exposure that's happened. You know, I've gotten this card a few times once I've used this deck. You know, and I've said before that a lot of times for me, the Pentacles can stand for votes because it's a physical, you know, thing that we do here on the earth. And I keep kidding, you know, maybe I'm just wishful thinking up the wazoo, but I still feel like it's going to come out that there was this voting chicanery and stealing, and it's exposed. They get to the bottom of it. That's in August. And then it's the Knight of Swords. So, you know, swords are like truth. You know, it's like voice, what you say, mental energy again. You know, what you think, what you say. But coming in strong with, you know, with backing. So let's say there was something exposed here that showed illegal chicanery, and then that makes truth and justice come riding in. In this case, it's on a buffalo or a bull, but he's fired up, even though he's the Knight of Swords. You can tell on his face, look. What the heck? Coming in to clear away some of this false narrative, illusion, delusion. Seven of Cups. He's going to come in here with this sword and chop those out. We've been deluded. Break through the delusion. And then the outcome in August would be the King of Wands. Now, that is not Oompa Loompa. That in this case, a lot of times I'll say this can represent the creator for me, because it's like the highest level of the wand suit, so the highest in the spiritual kind of hierarchy. But like the win is for this guy. He's that energy which is the good for everyone, good for one, good for all, is moving into the seat. So that looks like August. Let's use my wands and ask a couple things like that. Do you still see... Okay, first of all, hey Pan, are you here? Can you say yes if you're here? Yes, thank you. And go back to neutral. And what would you do if you wanted to tell me no? Okay, thank you. Do you see the orange menace still being president in June? You're thinking about it. Does he remain president? Okay, so he said yes. But that was an awful long think on it. So that makes me think things can change. How about July? Are we still cursed with him in the White House in July? Now he's saying no for July. They were both kind of slow to move, so it makes me feel like, things aren't completely in stone. We've known that anyway. There's a lot of crazy ass energy running around. So let's look at August. Do you see him, the evil dictator and traitor, being the president in August? No. Well, which would make sense, because if he's not there in July, he's not there in August. It was a little interesting about that June thing. So that could mean that in June, maybe we're seeing the writing on the wall. Okay, that was that. Okay, time is a-fleeting. Let's do one more for tonight, and then, I'll take some more of your questions on a different day. Let's see. Here's an interesting question. Where's my, I want to use this deck. Or maybe this deck. So here's a question. When animals go extinct, are they just gone forever? Or do they go someplace else? Or are they all hanging out together like in extinct land? That question's from Suzanne. Pan, do you understand the question? Yes, he says. It also says just because they're not here in physical form doesn't mean they don't exist. They return to spirit like we do. There were times when man went extinct, but then they came back. It's like that. They can come back when the balance is restored and when it's welcoming. They do. It makes me sick, but in a way, they go extinct. Well, for one thing, because the place they live is being destroyed and it's no longer, the balance is destroyed, so they can't quite survive or get the food or stuff like that. like polar bears or, I used to take care of Sumatran rhinos. I don't think there's any left. There may be one in captivity. Sumatran tigers, which are just down to the smallest few. It's nauseating. But in a way, hoping that their extinction would wake people up that they need to be connected consciously to Mother Earth and all the animals. So I talked to him about this before. I am going to pull some cards, but he's also saying, oh yeah, Mark, I remember that. So they might not be here on the planet, but that don't mean they've extinguished. They're still, their soul, their essence, their particular aspect of the Creator is still there. It's just not being represented physically at this time, but it can come back. Also, there's other options, like they can hang out, on the other side, just as energy. They can also incarnate or physicalize in other places, not the Earth, other planets. A long, long time ago, he showed me this planet that had all kinds of animal species. Some I knew, but some I didn't. And they lived in harmony, and it was like an animal planet. So I don't think this is the only place they can be. Okay, let's see what the cards say. Okie dokie. Well, those cards, they're kind of talking about humans' relationship with nature, and that as they awaken more to their connection, and that they realize that we're all one here and begin to value it and cherish it, that can bring the animals back. Like it would be possible for humans to visualize them back. Right. So, it's reading kind of like what I was hearing a little bit. So, it's a fleeting thing. It doesn't have to stay true, or it doesn't have to stay that way. They can come back if they're loved and wanted back, right? Or if the environment is such that they can live in it again. There's that we start putting our attention on the place we live. We focus in on Mother Earth. This is the Four of Discs. So north, south, east, and west. We focus in on all of it. All the earth. It's one. It's ours. We need to focus on it and love it, and cherish it, hold it. As we do that and actually begin to defend the earth, but that also Look how he's using like spirit light to defend it. You know, you get in touch with nature and you understand it more when you get in touch with spirit. It's kind of one and the same. They go hand in hand. And I got that same card twice out of 2 decks. So when humans have figured this crap out and decided that it's important to love the earth that you're on and defend it, they can just ride right back in. I got 2 Knights of Swords. They're ready in the wings for a dramatic return when humans are ready. They're kind of waiting in the wings. That's that waiting for your ship to come in. So when things are brought to balance again, when it returns to a certain balance, some species will return. Not necessarily all. Some will move on to other experiences. Some will come back. And some that have been gone for a long time, that we don't even think maybe are real. You know what comes to mind is like unicorn. Wouldn't that be wild if all of a sudden we saw a unicorn in the woods or something? Probably not soon, but Anyway. Okay, well, that was a nice little potpourri of questions. And if you didn't like them, well, it's not my fault, because you guys are the ones that gave them to me. So I put it all on you. And that's the way I am. Giving. What? My hair's in my glasses. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a nice kiki and a little bit of fun. And I hope you'll join me again real soon. Now I'm going to have to get off my hermity butt and get this to uploading so that you might be able to see it tonight. Okay, and well, tomorrow's the first day of June. Can you believe it? I love you guys very, very much. And I'll talk to you again real soon.